This time Yerushalmi Pesachim in the article Ozva edition, we're on the top line on Nun Gimel Rav Habagoli Chayev, and in the Vilna we're on Daf Mem Hey Omer Beis, the seventh line down. Habagoli Chayev. So it's name Korbaneda says Chayev Sheish Bo Trefus Vadai. If you have a trefus which is recognizable, as opposed to one which is hidden, which our Mishnah is speaking about, if it's recognizable, you're chayiv. Shari is ba'amum, like our Mishnah said by ba'amum. You're chayiv because it's recognizable, and therefore you have no excuse. Can't go to the our mitzvah. Now, next line, it could be going on trefa vadai, but it also could be going just back on our Mishnah on ba'amum. And Rabbi Yehuda is saying it's only Rabbi Shimon who says you're chayiv, as the Korbanei says. So it came shem asiyos mitzvah, since there's no mitzvah involved. Chayiv afagav the Torah, even though you're distracted by doing the mitzvah. Meir was she particular Meir. It's you can't say it's potter because Meir holds even something like we saw several times. Rabbi Yehuda says even egel, even it's not so much darker chalif. Nevertheless, Meir potters because it's in the ballpark of a mitzvah. So here too, if even the Baal Mum, according to the mayor, it's suitable. It's appropriate to pater him. Okay? The article says it's a whole different Rabbi Shimon and Meir. He says that it's about Mekalko Chabura. That's only according to Rabbi Shimon. Mekalko Chabura is chayev, and only to him it comes out to treifa because he's chayev and Chol Shabbos. But that's how the Pashut in the Yerushalmi Pesachim. Yerushalmi is like Rabbi Korbanei says, and Rabbi Chaim says the same thing. They were talking about Rabbi Shimon and Meir in terms of how much is considered to be how much do you need that darkly schalif in order to consider it still in the ballpark of Torah Mitzvah. Rabbi Shimon says, and therefore we're saying Rabbi Shimon, Ba'amum Badai, that's too much, and the Gemara says, Meir, it's not too much. Maybe it's similar to the Ego, L'Shein Koren Pesach. Okay, the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Yam, Mishem, Mishem, look at the Rabbi Shimoni. Rabbi Chama Bar Ukva, B'Shem Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina, said, Hamoshi Yodami Pischo, Gufo Karev Shlomim. So if somebody has rescinded their participation in a Korban Pesach, so then you can bring this Korban Pesach as a Shlomim. The Korban says you don't have to wait till it grazes and gets a mum and then redeem it and bring with the money Shlomim. In itself could bring Shlomim, right? Since they're no longer the subscribers have removed their hands from its being a Pesach, it defaults down to a Shlomim. Rabbi says it's a Shlomim Ksherim. Rabbi Yosef Amar Shlomim Psulim. So he says it's Shlomim Psulim. In other words, you can't use it to be carved itself. It has to be grazed and get a mum, and then you bring with its value, you bring other Shlomim. So Gemara asks, Vatni and Potter. It says in our Mishnah, according to Mishnah, Shachtav another Shemashko Bailim as Yadono Shemeisu Shemu Pot Mishashach Bishos. If you found out that the Korban had no Bailim, you're Potter, because you shechted it legitimately. So the assumption is that's how Meimer Potter kosher. We assume that means it's Potter and it's kosher. Says Gemara, no, not necessarily. Says Gemara, Patrin Le Potter Puzzle. So according to the Rabbi Yosa, you have to say that this Potter means that it's puzzle. And the reason you're Potter, as Rabbi Chaim points out here, is because you're honest. You had no way of knowing that. So it's puzzle, but it can't be sacrificed of a shlom. It's not a korban kosher, but you're honest. How are you supposed to know that? You know it was lo noda, so it came noda afterwards. That Moshe Ba'al Misyadeim. Rabbi Yasser Shem Yehuda said, "Ein chapesa gufo karev shlomim." Rabbi Yasser, presumably saying as Rabbi Yosa said before, Pesa itself cannot be brought shlomim elish avad, except if it's lost. The nimtza it's found me'achash kibur bailim. That's found after the bailim have already sacrificed a different korban Pesach. So that's the only time it itself can be brought shlomim. Otherwise, yirat shistavu. It has to go out to graze and get a mum. Vati and Potter. So the Gemara asks, again, a similar question you asked before. It says in our Mishnah that it's Potter. So Potter kosher. They thought to say Potter in our Mishnah means kosher. And our Mishnah is not talking about a Mishnah, a case where it was Avad, and then it was there was Kappa Cheres. It's our Mishnah. So the next case said Shemesu Shenikmu. The body came to died or became tummy. It's part of Shalacha Bershus, even though we're not talking about where it got lost, talking about different circumstances. So it's using the same case. Not sure we're using that. So second cases. The bottom line is all the cases Mishnah are not cases of Avad, and yet it seems that it's Potter kosher. Says no. So I made Potter kosher. So Potter puzzle. Okay, Shmuel Amar. Shmuel said, Kosh amru b'chatas mesa. Anytime they say about a korban chatas, which is that it has to die, and the korban brings down a chatas shekipu b'leh ba'acher. Chatas where the owner used a different animal for a korban, a chatas shmeis b'leh, and a chatas where the owner died. So that korban is that korban is korban chatas. It dies by Pesach gufo karev shlomim. By Pesach, it is in of itself can be brought shlomim. Now we ask the question the other direction of our Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, "What our Mishnah talking about right? Mishnah Baleh, right? But Ninon and our Mishnah said patur. So made my patur puzzle." The exact opposite question, right? Now you convinced us. Pater puzzle, right? So our Mishnah is saying it's Pesach Shemesu Baleh. It's pater and puzzle. So what do you mean kosher? It can be kosher as a shlomim. Right? It's not kosher. So by saying pater kosher? No. Our Mishnah says the pater is kosher. It's kosher as a shlomim. So the Chaim brings out your whole question. Okay, what about the Shlomim Pesach after Chatzos? Is it Pesach Ben Arbaim? Is it kosher? The Shittas Yerushalmi evidently is that yes, the sacrifice of Shlomim, but the Eved it is kosher. Okay, Rabbi Yasim Shem said to Rabbi Hudahi, says Rabbi Yudi, the Sober Angel is the best of Yochid. You can't share Korban Pesach on an individual, it has to be a Chabura. Nasisi Nami Arish Isha Echad Pesach. Our mission is all that where there's one person left on the Pesach. And the other people remove their hands. L'kach potter kosher. That's why it's potter and it's kosher because the there is one person left. So he holds that our Mishnah is taka potter kosher, but it's kosher as a Korban Pesach, not as a l'chatchila shouldn't have shechted it because only one person left. Rabbi holds ein shech now yochid, but the Evan now that you shechted it, it's still kosher because there's is one person still on it. So our Mishnah says l'chatchila you should not shecht on the Korban Pesach yochid, but the Evan if you did it, it's still kosher. Okay, that's why it's potter because it's still Korban Pesach kosher, not because it's a shlomim, because it's a Korban Pesach. So again, Rabbi Yossi said Rabbi Yehuda, the name of ain't sure it's Pesach. Yod div Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi matir. So our Mishnah says potter kosher. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yizir boy Raimana. Yizir asks for Raimana. Hey Nashkom potter kosher. Where do we see that potter connotes kosher? It's weird, right? Just say kosher. Don't say potter. But it sounds like something wrong in your potter anyway. You're saying it's kosher. It's kosher Korban Pesach. It's weird. They're called potter. So Armalay. So it's a little bit cryptic. We'll see the Kupnei Moshe. Armalay tinach potter dima tam kosher. Okay. So the Moshe says Armalay the b'shitus hilnumad. The tin hachapat nina tam kosher gabi leochlav v'shelo leochlav. They must nisin because by leochlav v'shelo our Mishnah the Ketay Potter also says Potter. But had you to we learned explicitly the kosher. Pesach. Also, by others, because Zvachim which are roy and you brought for Pesach, Shalom Shem Pesach, show the part of a kosher who going to be sure it's part of kosher. But you not accept them as decent. And here also here in the Sefer the Mishnah. So just like other scenarios in the Mishnah, we said potter, and that means kosher, because you know from elsewhere it means kosher. Also in our Mishnah, it's in the Sefer the Mishnah, where it says, it's potter and it's kosher. Again, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that even it's chatchila shouldn't check because it's only one person, but the Ebed, it's a kosher Korban Pesach. So again, the way we're seeing the Gemara, it's again, Amalei tina hacha potter tina tama kosher. Just like the Reish of the Mishnah, it says here potter and it means kosher because v'achol v'shlochlav is kosher. So it's the same in the Mishnah where it's moshcha b'leim b'seim. There's only one left, potter and kosher. It's a kosher Korban Pesach. Okay, so the next part of again going to this part of the Mishnah, Va'kulam, on all these cases, Rabbi Shmuel ben Osher Rabbi Yochanan broke Omer. Shmuel ben Yochanan said, "To Rasa v'yotze beis hasreifa." You have to wait until it becomes nosar, right? So it's no longer suitable, and then you burn it. So Korban says, "So Kol Mishmei Nid Moshe Moshe B'Aleim B'Sedem Yohanan Meir Mishmam Nashor Chomer to put Tzos Hashem Tinulo Atchubot Minut Suras Basar." Wait until it loses its status as fresh meat. Came named Psul Chomer since it's not such a severe psul. Lo Saving a Kachim B'Zoyin. We can't just burn the Kachim B'Zoyin outright. Matil Macha. Therefore, we wait till tomorrow. Sheish Bo Psul B'Gufo Shenasa Noisar. We wait till it becomes Noisar V'Osar Finlay, and then we burn it. Okay, so next the Gemara is going to discuss. The Gemara is going to introduce the concept Psul Machshir. It sounds like an Achronish thing, but here it is in Yerushalmi. Psul Machshir is a psul which is not a complete psul. That's why to bar to us of Yetzer Beis HaSveifa. So psul pasul mamish doesn't require ibur tzura. It's just burn outright. The psul machshir is this lighter kind of psul. So Rabbi Yossi, boy, come Rabbi Yossi. As Rabbi Yossi asks Rabbi Yossi, Nicha shem meisu v'shnitmu. In a sense, the owners died or they became tamei. So that's a psul machshir because nobody was doichel this korban b'yadayim. But shemashal b'ayim siyadam, the case where the b'ayim removed themselves from this korban. Manakayim, let me tell you about. Im echayim, they removed themselves while the animal is alive. Psul machshir is a psul machshir. Pasul, they're doichel b'yadayim. They pushed it off from being korban Pesach, but literally removing themselves from it. That's shemikar ibur tzora. Im lachar shchita, we're going to say they're moshech ziyadim after shchita. There's no such thing. Yesh mashiach lachar shchita. Is a mashiach after shchita? So. Why in this case the Moshe B'Aleim said name is B'Kar U'B'Tzura? Became a Sheish Rishus Limshoch. So the Gemara answers that since he has, they had Rishus to be Moshech from the new korban and go back to the old korban. That's what the Nir says. Since they will be Moshe from the new korban, go back to the old korban. So therefore, it's in flux. It's not a true Dechiyah B'Yadayim. As they say it ain't over till it's over. So it's actually shechted, you go back and forth and be moshech and go back and become nimna again, etc., etc. So came sheish rishis mishok psul machshir. That's it, psul machshir, the tone tzura, and therefore requires ibur tzura before you're able to burn it. Okay, hydro chelu dvarim, perak chelu dvarim, new perak, new mishnah. Okay, loch aleph. Okay, that's why it's Pesach. How do you roast a korban Pesach? Shpucha roy rimoni. Take a skewer made of pomegranate wood. Told him and you shove it into its mouth, ad means to kubaso until its rectum. V'nosei its krav es b'nei mel v'teil and you put its lower legs and its intestines inside it in order to roast it. Rabbi Akiva rejects it. Okay, bishul, it's like cooking. The body becomes like a pot. You're cooking inside a pot. And you're not allowed to, the korban Pesach has to be roasted. So, rather you hang these things outside of the, on the skewer outside of the body. Okay, says Gemara, Lama Shel Rimo, why pomegranate wood? All all types of wood, they bubble up liquids, and when they get hot, and that's like cooking, and it needs to be completely roasted. Sharimon enabot its mashkin. Pomegranate wood does not sweat out these doesn't bubble up the liquids. So Manakaim says, well, what are you talking about? Imalachin, if it's moist wood, I feel sharimon both states, and even pomegranate wood we see evidently that it does create this moisture. Imiyavashim is dry. I feel quite so no wood creates moisture. Elakini. Rather, this is the shot. Any wood can be dry on the outside, but still it can be moist on the inside. It can still be moist on the inside. Little rimon pomegranate. Once it's dry on the outside, yoshivnim, it is also dry on the inside as well. You don't have to be choshesh that there's some moisture deep inside. Tani b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, the same Rabbi Yochanan, the same Rabbi Yehuda. Sorry, Tani b'shem Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Not sure the word b'shem necessarily is necessary there. I don't know if anybody bothers taking it out. Well, I don't think the article takes it out, so they just say we have rights we found in the name Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, Tani b'shem Rabbi Yehuda Omer. The Bryce says the name Rabbi Yehuda said you can roast it with a metal skewer. I'm going to say about Rehum roteach umartiach. It causes it boils and it causes the meat to boil, and so it's cooking, not roasting. So he said back to him, no, I will say outside first and say inside. He says that just like the wooden skewer inside the animal does get burnt because the heat inside the animal is not sufficient to burn the skewer, so too the metal skewer doesn't get hot enough that it can boil whatsoever around it. In other words, you're right. He's saying if it got hot enough inside the animal, then the metal skewer itself would be considered like a heat source, and it would be boiling what's around it. But we see it doesn't get so hot inside. Otherwise, the wooden skewer would be burnt. Rather, it's just like holding it in place, the skewer. Whether it's wood or metal, it's not serving as a heat source to cook what's inside. Okay, as he says, just like the wooden skewer doesn't get burned, so to the metal skewer doesn't boil. Amar said no. The wood is not like metal. This is little science here. The wood, part of it gets hot, not all of it gets hot. In other words, the heat coming from outside the animal doesn't conduct it to the wood inside the animal, because wood is a poor conductor of heat. But but if it's metal, then the part outside gets very hot, and that causes the part inside to get very hot as well, and therefore that is in fact going to cook from the inside of the animal. Okay, go on to the next part of the Mishnah. It says the Mishnah said that you pierce the from the mouth unto the rectum. It sounds like the mouth is down and the rectum is up. And the Gemara brings it out. East time you pierce it the other way with the screw. You basically start from the rectum and then you go to the mouth. So it sounds like it's the rectum facing downwards. It says, well, no, I guess that's derech eretz to put the skewer first through the rectum and then through the mouth. But you turn upside down after you do that, so the mouth is facing down, and as Pnei Moshe explained, so that the whatever is inside and bloody, the blood, we said to put the crime intestines inside, that the blood runs out of the mouth. So that's okay. So the Gemara says, and going on this topic, well, okay, fine, that's fine. You turn over, but still, why would you in the first place? Well, actually, that's the answer. Let's see. As Corbin says, my time the blood is not going to be able to spill out, right? So, and I guess Gemara is not satisfied with the fact that its mouth, which actually is not its mouth, because it has base of shchita is cut open, so it's more than the mouth. So I guess Gemara is not satisfied with that. So Gemara says, why would you put it inside? So therefore, the Gemara says that kierach avile Rabbi Yasigli, as Kormei says, the answer lo yel chatichas basar shu'av. It's no different than a thick piece of meat. Sheish shoyv kol dam shebesocho, that the blood absorbs, or that the fire absorbs all the bloods in it. I feel much as He was on the second side, which is not opposite the fire. Here too, the blood draws out. Whatever here the fire draws out, whatever blood is in the pieces in the is inside. So it says more or meaning like Kaya Darish. He darshins that's the way it has to be. And Torah said do it this way, which I guess we rely on it coming out through the base of shchita. Now as the Kormei says, Inami Tamir the Krama to Darish. You see Roshah Kirkrav Kirbo. Roshah Kirkrav Kirbo, which he darshins Shehem Betocho. So it says okay, Darish Roshah Al Krav Al Kirbo, and it's a special case of Rosh Al Krav Al Kirbo, that the head is on top of the crime and kirbayim, which go inside the body, and therefore that's the way we have to do it. On top of Dafka, obviously, because it's but partially on top, I guess. Anyway, that Al Krav means inside. Manavine, what's the difference between the two limudim? It's if you can do this by by regular animal. So if it's going to say it's like a thick thigh and the word blood is going to come out, so then all the Mepharshim change. The next words, apostle and kosher, they change them from one line to the next and reverse them. If you say you have a so kosher, you do it by any animal. If you're going to say it's a specific pasuk by Korban Pesach, it's possible you can only do it here because it's special. It's kosher, and they rely on the blood somehow getting out over here, or perhaps even there's some blood left in because kosher allows it, but we did not allow it by any other animal. I think it brings us to the top of Nun Daled Amud Aleph. Yes, we'll even past that, and we'll stop here for today.